feels like much longer ago because so much has happened, but they've been down for 2 years. They were in the 2019 NBA Finals. That was the Kawhi Leonard NBA Finals. So then KD gets injured at that NBA Finals. So does Klay Thompson. And they hit rock bottom in 2020. That's also the COVID season. That's also the bubble season. Then last year, Klay gets injured again. And again, there's nothing to write home about. And so last year was the first year that was somewhat normal. And then this year, where they're back in the NBA Finals whenever they win this fourth game. It wasn't very long. And during that time, they totally rebooted by Kevin Durant leaving and then building two new, maybe not stars, but certainly heavy contributors in Jordan Poole and Andrew Wiggins. Without the last 2 years, when they're way down and Klay and intermittently both Draymond and Steph are injured as well, Jordan Poole doesn't get to play every day. And Andrew Wiggins doesn't get to kind of work his way through what happened in Minnesota to also become an all-star, which he was this year. And think about the 3 different chapters of the Golden State Warriors. The first chapter was a young, brash backcourt that Mark Jackson called perhaps the greatest shooting backcourt in NBA history. And we all went, what? What are you talking about? And then they fired Mark Jackson, hired Steve Kerr, and won an NBA championship. That was quick. And we all said, wow, maybe he's right. And that was 2015. Feels like a long time ago that the Warriors made their first NBA Finals. That was against LeBron, and that was the year that both Love and Kyrie were injured at the NBA Finals, and LeBron was just doing everything, single-handedly dragging the Cavaliers to Game 6 of that series. Ultimately wilted because his second-best player was Matthew Dellavedova in that series. But remember, there was some talk that even in a loss, LeBron could have been the MVP of the Finals. But the Warriors had hung their first banner. And then the next year, Steph and Dre and Klay perfected it. The year prior, they were still learning how to win, kind of needed the break of LeBron not having a healthy roster. Andre Iguodala was the NBA Finals MVP. But by year 2, 2016 of the Steve Kerr era, they had totally perfected it and won 73 games. And then they came back from down 3-1 against the Rockets. They end up 3-1 of the NBA Finals. And if Draymond Green doesn't kick LeBron on the floor and doesn't get suspended, it's distinctly possible the Golden State Warriors in 2016 would have completed the single greatest season in NBA history, 73 wins and an NBA title. We know what happened to that Finals, the Kyrie shot, the LeBron block, and it's LeBron's finest hour. At that moment, we go to Chapter 2, where they recruit Kevin Durant, which is a one-time only deal. It's a one-time only deal where Kevin Durant's available. Kevin Durant had just been knocked out of the playoffs before. The 3-1, I guess, was against OKC. I keep forgetting this. Warriors down 3-1, 2016, before the NBA Finals. Who'd they come back on?
The Oklahoma City Thunder.
Okay, that was the Russ and KD Thunder. And so they get to the offseason. It's a one-time only deal where KD is a free agent and there is a one-time bump in the salary cap. It happens because there's the new television deal with Turner and ESPN. And instead of what Adam Silver wanted, which was to institute the spending gradually over 5 years, the salary cap would go up gradually. The Players Association wanted all of it right away, wanted everybody to get paid right away. And so even though the Warriors had this super team already built, they had a one-time only, basically cap exception to bring in Kevin Durant, who cost a lot of money. A lot of money. But they could fit him in because of this one-time situation with the new television deal. And so they bring him in, and the Warriors become superhuman. They had already won 73 games, come to the precipice of winning back-to-back NBA championships, and then they add Kevin Durant at his prime. And to their credit, have a bunch of guys that didn't need to be the man. So Steph took a step back and Klay took a step back, and they watched Kevin Durant do his thing. And they win 2 more championships. And again, it's not fun. Those 2 seasons of the NBA are not fun. Everyone gripes. It's already set up before you get to the season who's going to win the NBA Finals. And Jeff Van Gundy said at that time, once they got Kevin Durant, this team could win 8 championships in a row. If they stay together, this team could win 8 in a row. And at the time, that did not feel like hyperbole. It was a death march every year to the finals. And everybody hated KD for making that decision. The Warriors became completely unlikable. It was like, how much fun is this? Because you just know you're going to win a championship every year. And that was the chapter where the Warriors get cracked on because you didn't need Kevin Durant, but you got him, and now there's no competition. And Kevin Durant gets cracked on because, well, you just kind of gravy trained your way to 2 championships and made the league way worse because of it. And we get to that third NBA Finals where KD is injured, Klay gets injured, and Kawhi Leonard helps lead the Raptors. And that ends that second chapter of the Warriors. And now we're into the third chapter where they're going to get back to the NBA Finals with a much older roster when it comes to those big 3, but Poole and Wiggins have been phenomenal. And I think this run to the NBA Finals in many ways validates, sanitizes, disinfects the stench, the dislike of the KD years, because it was so impossible to say how much they earned that. I mean, they just assembled the single most talented basketball team of all time. There was not even a close second. They had Steph and Klay and Kevin Durant all healthy. How could you possibly slow that down? And so it was like, how much of that is earned? How much do we give them credit for? But today, if they get back to an NBA Finals, it suggests that, A, that front office is really good. I mean, the way that they found Jordan Poole, the way that they swapped out D'Angelo Russell to bring in Andrew Wiggins, the way that those 2 guys have been developed under the wings of the veterans that were there and have become stars for them is amazing. I mean, Andrew Wiggins as an all-star is just an amazing reclamation project. But it also shows that Steph and Klay and Dre form a nucleus that could have been winners the entire time even without Kevin Durant. That even after he leaves now, they're finding ways to get it done. And, you know, they take nights off. And Klay has not been himself since the injury. And Draymond, when it was just Dre, right? And both Steph and Klay Thompson were injured, he was a shell of himself. He was clearly not a guy that was good enough to be able to win any basketball games of note. He was out there on an island, and you're like, oh, boy, he looks old. He does not look worth the money. This is ugly. But playing together, how they fit now, reminds you of what they were in 15 and 16. And so I think it does change how you look at this, because had they just fallen off this cliff after Kevin Durant left and never made it back to the NBA Finals, you'd be like, I don't know. I don't know how great they were until they had all of that talent besides the early years before they got Kevin Durant. And now I think it's complete validation for all of them. It's a weird year, though, because there's no great team. I mean, you think about it, the 1 seed in the West didn't get out of the second round. The 2 seed in the Grizzlies, were they really a great team? The Warriors get the 4 seed of the NBA's Western Conference Finals, and out east, neither the Heat nor the Celtics are a great basketball team. I mean, they might win a championship, but they're not an all-time great team. So the Warriors are they're threading the needle here of going to an NBA Finals, having not had to play the 1 seed and not having to play a great team like one of those classic LeBron teams or the defending champs in Giannis, et cetera. The Suns losing in the second round is kind of deflating because I kind of feel like they would give a better series here to the Mavericks. They also would have had the home court advantage. This series against the Mavs is just like, the Mavs are not up to this level yet. They might get there. They're not there yet. So the Warriors are threading the needle here in a good season to kind of flex and to get there. But it certainly helps validate these years of greatness. And think about this. They will have gone to their 6th NBA Finals in 8 years. That's what Jordan and the Bulls did. 6 NBA Finals, 8 years. That's a pretty remarkable run.